This Shabbat is Shabbat Chazon, the Shabbat before Tisha B'Av, on which we read Parashat Devarim. But in fact, this Shabbat is Tisha B'Av, is in fact the 9th of Av, and we should be fasting. And if it wasn't for Shabbat, we would in fact fast. And we know that Tisha B'Av, the 9th of Av, is the most tragic day on the Jewish calendar, on which so many tragedies happened, including the destruction of the first and the second temple. And the Talmud tells us something very fascinating. It says that the city of Jerusalem was destroyed during the period of the second temple because of an incident with two men, Kamtza and Bar Kamtza. There was a man, he remains nameless in the Talmud, and he had a friend. And the friend's name was Kamtza, and his enemy's name was Bar Kamtza. Well, this man made a great banquet. Perhaps it was a wedding for his daughter. And he told his attendant, his assistant, his butler, go and invite Kamtza. But instead, his assistant went and invited Bar Kamtza. He got confused, and he invited this man's enemy. Well, at the banquet, everyone was having a great time. Bar Kamtza probably thought that, all was forgiven, and he was sitting there enjoying himself, when the host came over and said to him, "What are you doing here? You're my enemy. Get out." And this was causing a bit of a scene. So Bar Kamtza said, "Listen, let's just not make a scene. Can I stay here and I'll pay you for the meal?" He said, "No, get out." Bar Kamtza said, "Let's not make a scene. You're embarrassing me. I'll pay for half of the banquet." He said, "No, leave right now." He said, "Please, don't embarrass me. I'll pay for the entire banquet, but just let me stay." He said, "No," and he chucked him out. And there were many notables sitting there at this banquet, including rabbis, and nobody stood up for him, and nobody said anything. He was so livid, he was so hurt, that he went to the Romans, and he convinced the Romans that the Jews were rebelling against them, and ultimately they came, they besieged Jerusalem, and they destroyed it. It's an incredible story. And what it shows us is the power of busha, of being embarrassed, of being shamed. That is what was happening in those days in Jerusalem. People just didn't get on with one another. There was sinat chinam, there was causeless hatred. And this was the straw that broke the camel's back. It was just too much, this public embarrassment of Bar Kamtza. And this is something that we should look at today, not just a historical event, but look at what goes on social media, on Twitter, on Facebook. People are embarrassed, they're shamed. There's a lot of shaming that happens on social media. There's bullying that happens on social media. You have children who are shamed for whatever it is, for the color of their skin, for their sexual orientation, for myriads of reasons that are completely irrelevant, and they're shamed. And this can lead to bloodshed. It can lead to suicide. The Talmud was not over-exaggerating, that when a person is publicly hurt and embarrassed, it can lead to destruction. So let's take the lesson of Kamtza and Bar Kamtza to heart. Don't shame another person. Consider their dignity. Look after one another. And please God, we will see the rebuilding of the temple speedily in our days. I wish you a Shabbat Shalom.